Yo, what's up, guys? It's Terrell here from Terrell Game Vlogs. Originally, I was I just saw J-Man's video about the single otaku life, and I wanted to make a response, but I want to get this video out first because of things that may or not be happening. So, today is going to be more of a I don't know if I've done a societal discussion on family, but and I don't know if I really call this a societal discussion because it's mainly going to be me drawing from my own experiences and kind of relaying that in the form of like a discussion kind of topic, because my last video was about making changes and moving out, and granted part of that was just a personal thing, like because I wanted to have some sense of growth, but the other part of that is because of, that's the reality of it all. Half of the reason why you move out of your house is half of it's personal reason, the other half is probably your parents. And for those who have more functional and normal and more, I guess, close knit and caring kind of families, this probably won't make sense to y'all because you're not used to the kind of families I'm going to describe. Because my family is a weird bunch of bullshit. That's the best way to describe it. So I'm going to draw from my own personal experience, and if you relate to the video, then cool. If not, it's perfectly fine. Everyone has different experiences. So for me personally, my family is kind of what partially taught me to be somewhat standoffish when it comes to helping people out. I think I was one of those kids who innately had a relatively good nature. I mean, I had my problems, but I was relatively good natured. And when I wanted to help people, I would help them out as much as I could, whether it was money or whether it was time or whether it was physical labor, whatever. The problem is that in my family, my mother is the youngest of her siblings, which makes us the youngest in terms of kids. So like all of my cousins are like we're in high school when I was either in like late elementary, early middle school. So there was this huge divide and gap. So I didn't have anyone my own age to really connect with and click with. And my family, at least on my mother's side, because I don't know much about my father's side of the family, is that kind of family members where you kind of, through bad experiences, you learn who you can and cannot trust. And there was a thing about my uncle. I'm not going to go into too much specifics. That a lot of people knew him as either a cheapskate or someone who kind of who was family involved, but not to the degree that you would think he would be. And it was always like, well, why is that? Well, the reason why is because some family members are assholes and pieces of shit and fucking will take money from you. And that's where part of my issue comes from. Like, if you're from a low income or like middle class family and you're doing well, there's a high probability that you're going to be put upon a lot. Unfortunately, that's just a situation. Now, and what I always hated is that essentially that kind of indirectly taught me is like, oh, you're doing well in life. Well, I guess you need to be punished by having your family put upon you. And so the problem is that between your friends putting upon you and your family putting upon you is not the same thing. So when your friends put upon you, it's easier to say no to that. When family puts upon you, that could easily turn into some bullshit. That could easily turn into some pseudo blackmail type shit. Oh, well, you're living in my house, or oh, I raised you for such and such years, and then it just becomes this whole little thing where you grow an increasing amount of resentment towards family members because they're holding, and it ain't have to be your parents, it could be like your uncle and aunt, because not everyone lives with their parents. Some people live with their aunts and uncles and shit, and they put upon you. You're the one doing at least well or at least better than everyone around you, and for some reason that makes you a target. It's fucking bullshit, but that's what happens because people are assholes. And what kills me is that like it's through those experiences of like helping your cousin or helping your uncle or helping your aunt or helping your mom or helping your dad, and then getting burned on the backlash that teaches you not to do it again. And then for some reason, because you've learned from your mistakes, you now gain this reputation of being a cheapskate, which means instead of being taken advantage of, you're fucking like you're what's the word? There's a lot of resentment towards you all of a fucking sudden because because you don't want to help people out. But what it really is that you're just tired of getting burned on everything. Every little fucking thing. And then what makes it worse is that it's not even like a two-way street. It's one way apparently with these people. Because it's like, I'll give you $100, and then when I'm asking you for $5, you act like you ain't got it. And it's like, well, what kind of shit is that? And obviously people would make the argument, well, it's family. You don't need to be asking for shit in return every time it's family. It's true, but you should at least be able to be there for me in small ways if I'm there for you in big ways. I mean, I have a friend who has a similar situation. He has cousins and aunts and uncles and shit who he'll go like, it trips me out. He lives with his parents too, and he recently got a job as a teacher, but he's always been the kind of guy who really likes kids, and he likes to do well for his cousins if he can. And because he didn't have any really outstanding bills because he was in school mainly, he used to, for Christmas and shit, spend all of his fucking money on all of his nieces and nephews and whatnot. And then but then you sit there and go, wait a minute, well, why the fuck aren't their parents paying for anything? And you realize, damn, well, why am I paying for your kids' Christmas and you're not doing that? It wouldn't even be that. That's just part of it. And that's what fucking trips me out. It trips me out that that family to me is more dangerous than friends, because friends, there's less of a connection there than where it's family. Well, family will hold that shit over your head and be like, well, you need to do this for me because we're blood, and blood is thicker than water. Oh, you know, I mean, people have heard that fucking phrase. Blood is thicker than water. Well, guess what? The shit all goes down the drain the same way. It ain't like fucking blood is some special type of shit that it can't get flushed down the drain as easy as water. No, it's just a bunch of bullshit. It's just a bunch of bullshit, but you get put upon because you're the nice one in the family, or you're the successful one in the family. And what trips me out is then they put you on a pedestal. They'll put you on a pedestal making things like you're hot shit, when even you realize that compared to most people in the world, you ain't shit. But for some reason in your family, you're like on the top of the motherfucking world, which is not even a good thing. You'll be the type to get the backhanded compliments. Well, you do pretty well considering where you come from. It's like, don't remember where you come from. I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, the whole goal is to be taught to do well for yourself and to make sure you can survive and be happy with what you're doing. And then, you get shitted on by your family members and siblings because you're doing better than them when that wasn't even your goal. Your goal was just to do good for yourself. It just so happens that ends up equating to being better than what they're currently doing. And what trips me out even further is that, a lot of the people who put up on those kids are fucking older than you. They're usually 10, 20, 30 years sometimes older than you, and they're sitting there putting upon you on dumb shit. And I'm like, well, shit, I'm 18, 20, 22, 26, and for some reason I'm expected to fucking carry your weight. And look, because I think this is the distinction that needs to be made. There's a difference between respecting your elders and agreeing with them. I don't agree with a lot of the shit my parents do, but I respect the grind they had to go through to make sure that we lived a relatively stress-free life, or at least we lived in a relatively safe environment and nothing bad or overly negative happened to us. I respect that, because not every parent does that, as we've learned throughout the years. But that doesn't mean I agree with your philosophies or the way you choose to do things. I usually don't agree with those fucking things. But for some fucking reason, and what pisses me out the most is how quickly the people will turn on you. It is so fucking true. The moment you don't want to do something, and I hate this. This is the app. This is a personal thing right here. This drives me at the wall. You could sit there and do 20 damn things for them in the course of a year, and the one thing you can't or do not want to do, and all of a sudden you're dead to them. And it's like, bruh, we're supposed to be family, and you gonna throw me out on one thing. I sat there and did the other 20-something things you wanted, but it's the one thing, that one thing, and it's usually nothing even that much bigger, if at all. Sometimes it's even a smaller deal. And it just shows you how easy motherfuckers will throw you under the bus over something stupid. Because people are like, well, in this world, you either getting over on or you get over on somebody else. And so when it comes to your cousin, your son, your daughter, your sister, whatever the fuck, you rather get over on them than, help build each other up. That shit breaks me down, man. And that's probably the reason why I said some shit may or may not happen in the next few weeks. Because that's part of the reason why you can't say, by the time you hit 18 is when you've gotten to the point where you inherently do not agree with probably your parents anymore. It's not even a situation of respect. It's a situation of, I don't agree with your philosophy on handling things. And in some situations, like I know a few friends who are in, their parents are putting on them. They're like, well, I have a friend who has 3 girls. She has 3 girls, and her mother will sit there and be like, well, you need to watch your sister's kids because you're looking for a job. Well, how the fuck am I going to look for a job if you got me babysitting not only your kids on top of having mine go to school or daycare or whatever the fuck? If I'm looking for a job, why would you do that to me? That's one of the reasons why one of my friends moved out of her parents' house. It was because of that shit. Because the mother was sitting there, because the mother had her own problems and was pushing her problems onto her. And it's like, well, fuck. So I'm dealing with my own shit, and now I got to deal with your shit and my sister's shit because you can't tell my sister things, which gets into the whole issue of whether or not your parents play favorites and whether your parents were ever admit to playing favorites, which, depending on the family, depends on how severe that is. That's why I say if you live in a family that's either relatively normal or doesn't deal with half of this shit, you should be very thankful, because the stress and the anxiety and the aggravation and the frustration you have to suffer due to this kind of bullshit in your life, it's just not fucking. There's nothing good about it. The only thing I can say that's good about it is a learning experience. That people, no matter who the fuck they are, blood or related or not, will try to fuck up you over or try to get over on you. And it's a shitty situation because you're supposed to be family, and you gonna do your family like that. Well, it's because family doesn't mean shit. Family means shit to the person who's willing to give it value. I have friends who are more supportive than family members are, because that's the reality of the situation. Family members, some family are just assholes, because at the end of the day they're just people, and people are fucking flawed and disturbed like everybody else. So, yeah. I think that's it. It's just a little quick rant I want to get out. And if you guys can relate, leave it in the comment section below. I appreciate your the likes and comments and subscriptions and all that, even though I've been pretty sporadic on this channel. I will probably give an update within the next few weeks, within the next week probably, depending on what happens. So I'll let you guys know what's going on, for the most part, or as much as I can say. But yeah, that's just something that's been eating at me a lot recently, and it's hey man, some people, I would say in some family situations it gets bad enough to the point where it's like, I'd rather put myself in a shitty situation than deal with your shit so much. And that's a terrible thing to do, to make your own child or your own relative rather go out and deal with complete strangers than deal with you because of how bad of a person you are, or because of how selfish of a person you are. And at that point, you should reevaluate yourself. Spoiler, people aren't going to fucking do that. People aren't going to fucking do that. But yeah, Patreon, Discord, VidMe, all that fun stuff is in the description. Thank you guys for watching. This has been the Vlogs Game for your boy Terrell, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.